Hi, friends. Very good evening. So, today we would be touching a very important topic, which is known as the communication. We all know that communication is very important in our life, it is very detrimental for our success. Still, a lot of us don't focus on it. And believe me, when a lot of people understand what communication is, they basically think whatever they have in mind, whatever knowledge they have, if they can express it very clearly, very effectively, the communication is done. Even I was doing the same. In fact, when I started my career, I used to do around 300 plus cold calling a month. In fact, and those were physical cold calling. And I used to go and blabber out whatever information I had about my product, my service, whatever I had learned. And those informations basically, I just used to give it to the person in front of me without understanding much about him. Then slowly, steadily, I used to complete my target because of brute force, brute energy. I was doing around 300 plus cold calls, so 1% conversion was good enough basically. But slowly and steadily, as I started moving ahead with the experience, in the sales training, we were taught your product and service has to solve the problem of a customer or your prospect. Otherwise, no one will purchase it. So what I started doing is seeing the product. Okay, this is the product. It might solve these problems, and I used to create a note. I used to create a presentation around it, and whenever in my meeting, I used to just blabber out the same thing to the customers, and I was doing pretty well even there also. Just because I used to do around 350, 400 cold calling, and 3% conversion was good enough, in fact, to complete my target. But when I went to solution selling industry, there I struggled big time, very big time, in fact. It was such an experience. In 6 months, I started feeling, boss, somewhere, I mean, this is not for me. And in 6 months, I decided to put down my paper. Then my president gave me a helping hand. He said, "Okay, you have submitted the resignation. We'll keep it. We'll not accept it. Just you fix an appointment with one of your prospect. We will go. We will discuss, and then probably you come back and then we decide क्या करना है यार तुम्हें जाना है जाना हो अगर नहीं जाना है तो you are welcome to stay here and work." So I must say I fixed the appointment with my most difficult prospect. uh, I believe I had met that prospect for more than 30, 40 times without any success. So we went on that fateful day. We entered the office. We had to wait for around 30 minutes. And believe me, I was very restless in those 30 minutes. Whereas my president was very calm and composed. He was just sitting, reading something or going through, finding out different things about the company. There were certain writings, there were certain awards, which he was really monitoring and basically taking mental notes of that. After around 30 minutes, we were called to the cabin, and our prospect greeted us and said, Ki, just because of insistence, I've agreed for this meeting, but believe me, I have no intention to purchase anything. I said, okay. I was really enraged. I was really dejected. I was feeling depressed. I'm sorry. Whereas my president, he was really, I mean, that sentence did not give any emotion to him. In fact, he was smiling. He greeted the customer. He sat down and just said, smiling, believe me, we are not here to sell you anything. We are here to just understand your feedback. And believe me, that meeting started and went for around 2 hours. 2 hours, in fact, that was a dream for me to sit with any client because I used to think it is a wastage of time. I mean, 5 minutes में हो गया job, order मिलना है मिलना नहीं मिलना नहीं मिलना, let us go to other customer. But my president invested that 2 hour with him, and when we walked out with his order, we walked out very good list of reference. You know, that was basically a thing which I should have understood at that point of time. What I started doing, I started copying him blindly. and I started implementing that. So when I was not very intentional, I did not understand what I'm doing, but I used to copy him a lot of time, in fact. So somewhere I used to get occasional success, and that success was good enough to overachieve my targets. It was, when I joined Peak Impact Mentorship, and our first session was about communication, because that is one thing where we in Peak Impact Mentorship give a lot of effort as such. So when that class was going on, our mentor was basically coaching me for communication. Then I realized, actually, one by one, whatever principle my president was applying. And the very essence of communication is कि communication में whatever we say is only 7%. It is 7% verbal, 38% is modulation, and it is 55% your body language. So whatever you are saying should match with your modulation, should match with your body language. If there is a disconnect, a person in front of you will not take you lightly, or will not will not take you seriously. And you know the very important thing is ki a communication is always a two-way process. A lot of time we try to say कि भाई ये मैंने बता दिया, मैंने उसको ये बोल दिया, मेरा काम हो गया. नहीं है. Communication is not speaking. Communication is not, you know it is not a oratory competition as such, where you just keep on giving the knowledge. Communication is a very different world. And in fact, those people who are extremely successful today, you find that there is one quality for sure: they are very good communicator. So what I understood from that meeting, communication is not about us, it is always about others. It is always about the person with whom you are talking. It is about the a person with whom you try to communicate. So when we are in a process of communicating, I'm not talking about speaking, I'm talking about communicating. So whenever we are in a process of communicating, our first effort should be to understand the person first. Then we expect he understands us. So it is all about others. So we need to understand the person on the other side of the table. We need to understand the needs of the person on other side of table. We need to give limelight to the person on other side of table, rather than hogging all the limelight by us. So it is more of listening process rather than speaking. And believe me, communication is more about giving than expecting from others. It is all about no showing you care. So it is about caring first, then being cared for. No, so हमारा नो जो मोटो होना चाहिए, ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि सामने वाला बंदा मुझे क्या देगा, सामने वाले बंदे मेरी भावनाएं समझे, मेरी नीड्स समझे. नहीं. इट इज, आप पहले उसकी नीड समझिए, आप उसकी भावनाएं को समझिए, आप समझिए वो क्या चाहता है, उसको ये लगना चाहिए यू केयर फॉर इट. देन probably the communication can start. See, communication is also key. You are more interested in the success of the person on the other side of the table than your own success. It is about, वो बंदा satisfy होना चाहिए rather than you being satisfied. It is not about what your vision is. Believe me, your vision means nothing. It is the visualization which you are able to create in his mind. It is all about that. Communication is all about creating the visualization in the mind of the person who's sitting on the other side of the table. And believe me, if you are able to do this, you have achieved communication. You would be a tremendous communicator, in fact. And तो इसमें हमारा क्या फायदा होगा, isn't it? बहुत बार मतलब हम लोग उसी से ड्राइव है, इनफैक्ट मेरा क्या फायदा होगा. So believe me, a very famous line of Zig Ziglar, where he says, help a lot of people achieving what they want in their life, and believe me, they in turn will help you to achieve what you want in life. So communication is all about caring. Communication is never about yourself. It is about others. And believe me, there is law of giving there, which says कि आप जितना देते हैं, कभी ना कभी वो आपके पास वापस आएगा. And many times it comes in many fold. So that is what I was intended to talk about communication today. What we'll do in the next week, we'll talk about difference between a speaker and a communicator, and after that, we will basically work on one tip of communication. So every week there would be one tip which we need to practice in for the entire week. Yeah, because still we do not practice whatever we are learning, it will never fetch any result. So after basically giving each tip, we will have a kind of time to practice it. And if you face any issue in that particular week, you can always contact me. You can message me, or you can write me a mail at uh, contact us at the rate beyourownlight.in. And in fact, all these things which I'll be sharing, I've learned from my mentor, Mr. Bijay, and he is an executive director in John C. Maxwell team and is being coached by John C. Maxwell. So there is no better communicator today, probably, than John C. Maxwell. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for listening to me. And we will again meet the same time next week. Until then, thanks. And try to think, are you communicating or you are just speaking? And try to understand the difference. Try to analyze the way you speak. Try to analyze what your mindset is when you are going to talk to someone. So next time when we will discuss the difference between a speaker and a communicator, we will basically know things will be more clearer. And after that week, we will have one tip basically to communicate effectively. So just to summarize, whatever we have discussed today is what whatever we communicate, everything, our body language, our verbal communication, our modulation should be in congruence. If it is not happening, you will not be able to communicate, because your verbal is only 7%, your modulation is 38%, your body language is 55%. If your body says something else, your modulation says something else, your verbal says something else, the person in front of you will be confused. So that was the first point what we discussed. The second we discussed is the communication is not about us. Communication is always about others. It is about keeping others' needs in mind. It is creating a visualization in their mind rather than no, being bothered about your vision. Then you're giving the limelight to others. It is about thinking about others' success. It is about caring about others. So this is what communication is. If we have these things in our mind, believe me, will be very good communicator. So thanks. We'll meet again next week. Thanks a lot.